Hi, welcome to Introduction to Value Stream Mapping with Learning to Lean. My name is Katie Lebedz. I'm president and CEO of Learning to Lean, a continuous improvement consulting company based out of Hortonville, Wisconsin. I am proudly a certified Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt and certified project management professional and emotional intelligence coach. I'm also an author. I've written 3 books that can be found on Amazon by just looking it up by my name. And I have over 20 years experience in project management, continuous improvement, leadership, and coaching. My customers span from agriculture to healthcare to IT to legal services to insurance to manufacturing and everything in between. The cool part about what we do is the fact that we utilize continuous improvement, Lean and Six Sigma tools that can be used across industries to help solve problems, to drive revolutionary results. So essentially, it's not too many things in your life that you can say one set of tools can help solve multiple people's problems, regardless of what industry you're in. So let's jump right into the introduction to value stream mapping. But first, what's a process? So a process is a series of steps to produce a product or service. A process transforms inputs into outputs. Now, there's 3 versions of a process. The first version is what's on your SOP or work instructions or job aids. That's the way you're supposed to do the process, right? Especially if any of you have to go through audits internally or externally, especially for something like ISO, you know that you need that documentation to produce to say this is how we actually do the process. So that's the first version. The second version of the process is the version in your head. When you're thinking about that process, what are the steps that I take in order to run that report? What are the steps that I take to get dressed and ready to go in the morning? Those are the steps that you have in your head. The third version of the process is what the process actually looks like when we go to document it step by step in a value stream map. Now, guess what? All 3 versions of that process could look completely different. And our goal is for them all to look the same. Now, remember, when we are looking at process, we want to make sure that we understand it's the process that is broken, not the person doing the process. So there's no blaming involved here. We want to focus on the process, not on the person. Now, let's talk about a value stream. So what is a value stream? At a high level, a value stream is a series of activities that an organization performs. That's a very high level look. So if you are in manufacturing, a value stream, a very large value stream would be from the moment that you get the order from your customer all the way through the delivery of the end product to your customer. Maybe you're in insurance, and it could be from the moment that the person comes in and says, I would like to buy life insurance, until they finally go through underwriting and all of the background work to sign the final documentation and provide the first check. That's very large value stream map examples. Now, typically what we do is we take a subset of that to work on solving a problem. So within a value stream, it is a set of all steps and all processes from the start of your value creation all the way through the end result or delivery to your customer. Now, keep in mind, our customers can be internal or external customers. Now, what is a value stream map? So a value stream map is a visual representation of how the process actually works. It was that third version of the process I just showed you. On your value stream map, it indicates time, ownership, wait time, waste, and opportunities for improvement. Now, what's the difference between a flow chart and a process map or a value stream map? A flow chart is very high level, right? It's a very high level view. You get the basic understanding of what's happening in the process. A process map or value stream map is a flow chart on steroids. So it contains material and information flow and a whole lot more data. So when should we use a value stream map? Well, we use it in general to solve a problem so that we understand how our process actually works. We use them during a Kaizen event. We do actually two value stream maps, a current state value stream map and a future state value stream map. The current state shows us the way the process actually works today, and the future state value stream map is a value stream map that depicts how we want to improve our process in the future. We use it when we're going through the steps for the theory of constraints. We use it when we're completing an A3 for A3 problem solving methodology, or when you're working on an 8D, which stands for 8 disciplines, or in the define, measure, and actually in the improve phase of DMAIC or DMADV, which are Six Sigma problem solving methodologies. But what's a problem, right? So we said we use a value stream map in general to solve a problem. So a problem is a gap between an actual and target condition or an unfulfilled customer need. Now, when you have a problem, you want to ask two questions. What problem are you trying to solve? And what data do you have to support the problem? When we engage with clients to work on a value stream map, in a Kaizen event especially, the first thing we focus on is creating that measurable problem statement. So that allows us to know what part of the value stream map we're working on and what is the scope and what problem are we really trying to solve and what data supports that problem. With our clients, we use this measurable problem statement recipe to generate that problem statement at the beginning of our engagement so that we can help the client to permanently solve the problems and drive revolutionary results. Now, you may have heard of this tool before. It's called a SIPOC. It stands for Suppliers, Inputs, Processes, Outputs, and Customers. A SIPOC gives us a 50,000-foot overarching view of our process. We have another free class coming for that soon. But today we're really talking about a value stream map, which gives us a 5-foot view. So SIPOC gives us a high-level overarching view, and a value stream map gives us a 5-foot view, step by individual step in a process. So who should participate in a value stream map? An experienced facilitator, the process owner, so the people or person that owns that process, and most importantly, the people that actually do the work in that process. So no offense, but sometimes if you send a supervisor or a manager, they might not know the detailed step-by-step activities that are required. And probably the largest question or most common question that we receive is, do we have to take the people away from their day-to-day job, whether it's office or on a manufacturing line, to do a value stream map? Yes, we do. We need the people that have the knowledge to know how things actually work and can help us document it. So the answer is always yes. We need them in that event. Sometimes we involve internal or external customers, subject matter experts, and of course, cross-functional team members, which it's great to have that outside perspective and to have people ask really good questions just because they're really not familiar with that process. Now, I want to talk about systems thinking here for just a second. So systems thinking is using tools and methods available to understand what's being done in a specific operation. Okay. More importantly, we have to understand how those activities affect tasks and products further downstream or even upstream, which means if we make a change, how is that going to impact the processes before ours and after ours? So it's that ripple effect. So let me give you a personal example. We have our prescriptions filled at Pick and Save. And I noticed a few months ago that Pick and Save changed the way that they were processing our medications. So I asked the person at the pharmacy, tell me about the change. So before, the pharmacist would fill our prescription order, put it in a plastic bag that hung on these rails. Clear plastic bag, had the medicine bottles in there and the leaflet that you get. Then they changed it and it changed to a brown paper bag, like a lunch sack, with the medicine in there stapled shut with the information stapled on the outside. And the person in the pharmacy I talked to, I asked them, tell me about the change. And she said, we hate it. She said they never looked before and after these process steps. So now it actually takes the pharmacist longer to complete the order because they have to put it in the brown paper bag and seal it with the stapler. And she said what they didn't account for is many older clients will ask to see the medicine. So they end up opening the bag anyways. And she said the majority of their customers were older clients that wanted to see the medication to begin with. So she said it's much more work now than it's ever been. So again, that's an example of looking upstream and downstream from the process that you're trying to improve. Another question that we also get is, how long does this take? So for a current state map, again, this is generalized based on over 20 years of experience. Depending on the scope of the problem you're trying to solve, it can take 3 hours to 2 days to do a current state map. Again, try not to boil the ocean. Try not to come into an activity and think we are going to process map every single thing within our organization. You need to take a step back and break down those value stream maps into smaller value streams or subsets and work on those. It's fine to want to value stream map your activities at work, but make sure that you limit the scope so you don't burn people out. A future state map during a Kaizen event can take anywhere between 3 hours to a day to complete. My preference personally is for everyone to either be in a room at one time and do it physically or be virtual. Hybrid is very difficult to do. We don't really have the tools quite yet to allow us to be able to draw on a whiteboard on a wall and have a camera pick up what we're actually doing. Try to make sure you have focus time to complete the value stream map in one or sequential settings without time in between. So what does that mean? That means not scheduling a value stream map for this afternoon and then saying, okay, we're going to come back in 2 weeks and finish it up. People will lose the flow. They'll lose the rhythm to what they're doing. You're going to have to backtrack. They lose their train of thought. And also something to remember is that you always review your current state and future state value stream maps twice before you call it complete. So what does that mean? That means as we're going through step by step, we're reviewing it for the first time. When we finish a value stream map, I'll tell everyone, take a break, or maybe it's the end of the day or it's lunchtime. People need to leave the room. This is an emotional journey if you don't know this. It's very emotional, mentally taxing. I always tell the teams your brain should feel like mashed potatoes by the end because it's a lot and it's at a level of detail that you're not used to thinking of for hours on end. So after we are complete with the first round, we take a break and come back and read it out loud, review it one more time before we all agree and call it complete. So textbook value stream symbols are here. So if you Google it, this is what you're going to see. You're going to see the little eyeglasses, the shipment truck, the push arrow, the designation for FIFO, first in, first out, a little post for Kanban. There's nothing wrong with this, right? These are the traditional symbols, and this is a traditional value stream map. So again, nothing wrong with this. This came from the American Society for Quality. This is right out of their Greenbelt book. This is a traditional value stream map. As you can see, it contains a lot of information and data, and I'm sure it took quite a bit of time to complete. Here's another example of a value stream. And this is the simplified version. So this is on purpose blurry because this is a real customer, but I really only use 2 symbols. So the symbols that I use is an oval for start and end and a diamond for decision. My thought in regards to value stream maps is that it is important to document how the process actually works today. And if we get nervous, then we spend too much time with our head wrapped around the axle in regards to what symbols we should use. And if we simplify it, then that's really the goal of this activity, depending on the problem you're trying to solve. I also use these pre-printed Post-it notes. So these pre-printed Post-it notes, we use one for each process step. And obviously it says process, and I write in the process. I write out who is the owner and who is the customer, how much time it takes. I circle which one of the values it is. So value add, business non-value add, or non-value added. And whether or not there's waste. If there is, then we circle which kind or kinds. So defects, overproduction, waiting, non-utilized talent, transportation, inventory, motion, and excess processing. And if you're interested, you can order these pre-printed Post-it notes right here. Value stream mapping tools, I use Wizardwall. Wizardwall is whiteboard paper on a roll. This is fantastic. It allows me to be portable. I can write on it with dry erase markers, erase with a Kleenex or my fingers. Post-it notes stick to it. I can move things around. The traditional tools have been butcher paper, and that doesn't allow us to make mistakes, right? Some people get very worried about things like that. So if we need to move things around on Wizardwall, it's no big deal. It just sticks. It also sticks to the wall with static link, so you don't have to worry about bringing tape with you. Now, virtually, I like to use Miro or Mural. I use Miro personally for our business because it allows me to invite people to attend or participate in a Miro board as a guest, and they don't have to pay for their license. I have a license that I pay for myself, but not for guests. And of course, you can use good old Visio. Nothing wrong with Visio. Visio can be expensive for licensing. And then, of course, if you have somebody else on the team that doesn't have Visio, then they can't open the files unless you download it as a PDF. So again, we do a current state map to understand the way the process is working today. Then we do some brainstorming activities here, and we create the future state map, how we want the process to look like in the future. And of course, there's action items and owners associated with making those things happen. The benefits of doing a value stream map creates that visual representation of how a business process actually works. It helps us to identify improvement opportunities and lays the groundwork for a strategic plan. Let's look at some examples. This is a customer that this was the process for reimbursement of a company purchase. So maybe your boss said, hey, you know what? Why don't you pick up some donuts tomorrow before you come into the office and just expense it? That was the expense process. Yellow Post-it notes designate process steps. Pink Post-it notes designate waste. So as you can see, there was 98% waste in that process. And, you know, processes grow arms and legs and weird things happen over time. And the manager of this process walked in while we were doing it, or the leader of the organization, and couldn't believe it. But sometimes it's just offhanded comments like, you know, we should put a check in for that, or somebody else should approve that. And that's where things start to spiral out of control. So this team brainstormed and we wanted to figure out how can we improve this process? And we drew this future state map. So 5 steps and 1 decision, and that's the way it is today. And we implemented, again, lean tools, mapping, identifying waste, seeing where value is added or where we could add value, and improve the process drastically. Here's some examples of value stream maps. Again, pink Post-it notes indicate waste. Yellow Post-it notes were process steps. So as you can see for this one, we had 100% waste, and that's an example that Wizardwall looks like white saran wrap. More Wizardwall, again, yellow Post-it notes are process steps. Pink Post-it notes designate waste. And again, this is detailed step by step in the process. This was for a new part, and this was for a repeat order. Here is another one. Top one is current state. Bottom one was their future state and their action items. This was for a changeover process. Current state was top, future state was the bottom. The cool part about this process was that they were able to save $500,000 a year on just implementing 5S and saving 15 minutes per changeover. They usually do 6 to 7 changeovers in a day, and they had 7 lines, so the savings adds up quickly. This was another customer. This is for PO acknowledgement, was their top process. Their goal was to respond within 8 hours. That was taking them about 8 days. The future state process was going to be able to have a response within 4 hours. And this is one that I did virtually during COVID. 25 different departments from a global company wanted to understand how they all interacted with each other for their new product introduction process. Without capable or robust processes, we can't have predictable results. We need to walk through our processes step by step in order to identify waste and value. Then we can identify root cause and work to permanently eliminate that waste. So what are some common mistakes while doing value stream maps? First one is team representation for the process is inadequate or inappropriate. They send somebody that isn't familiar with the process or hasn't worked in the area in a very long time. Unclear scope, lack of coordination with other process flow mapping. Scope is huge. That's why we do that measurable problem statement. Unclear scope is an indication that we really don't understand the problem we're trying to solve. The team not walking through the process to capture what is exactly is followed. That happens sometimes. We need to make sure that we have empathy while we're doing this. We need to make sure that we're managing emotions and realize that this is an emotional journey. And I always tell folks, if your current state value stream map looks too clean and neat and organized, then you're probably not doing it right, because no process is all clean, neat, and organized, or we wouldn't be working on process mapping it. Realize that sometimes people get embarrassed about what their process looks like, and just reassure them it's the process, not the person. The team spending too much time creating a perfect process diagram rather than focusing on the process. Occasionally you get that. The biggest mistake is not trying to do one at all. If this is your first time through with value stream mapping, pick something that is smaller in scope and more manageable so that you can get your value stream map legs under you and get comfortable with able to do this. So as I mentioned, during a Kaizen event, we definitely do value stream mapping. In a Kaizen event, we have a cross-functional team with an experienced facilitator. It's usually multiple days, and we review all possible options for improvement, current and future state value stream maps, brainstorming, and work to permanently fix the problem. This is a typical Kaizen event agenda. And again, Kaizen is change for good or rapid change. This is where we solve your problems. We don't particularly have the answers. You have the answers. You are all geniuses. We help to expose the genius in everyone to help solve your problems in a rapid fashion. So instead of having a project that goes on and on and on for months and months, we come together with you and work with you to solve your problem in just a few days. So a typical event will have your measurable problem statement, as I already mentioned, a SIPOC, a current state value stream map, a SWOT analysis, an ideal state brainstorming activity, a future state value stream map, action items and owners, report out reflection, and then follow up. So I'd love to invite you to the more detailed section or session on value stream mapping. So on September 18th, there'll be a virtual value stream map session for about 4 hours. So we'll go into greater detail than we did today. We'll talk more about waste and more about tools and what to do if it seems like it's going sideways. So I'd love to have you join us in that session. Thank you so much for your time today, and I look forward to seeing you in another event in the future. All training events can be found on our website, www.learningtolean.training, under the training section on our website.